If you recall the tragedy of Heath Ledger and his posthumous Oscar win, you might be surprised to learn he wasn't the first to win the award after he died. A few other actors have also given Academy Award-winning performances and then passed away shortly after. All these actors are recalled for their great award-winning performances. In a career spanning decades, Henry Fonda left an indelible mark on the history of American cinema as one of the most identifiable movie stars of his generation. An actor known for taking roles that emphasized his own American ideals, Fonda compiled a robust collection of credits. His best-known films include Young Mr. Lincoln, The Grapes of Wrath, and 12 Angry Men. He also launched the Fonda acting dynasty, which includes his children Jane and Peter and his granddaughter Bridget. Despite his many acting achievements, much of Fonda's career went unnoticed by the Academy. He was nominated for Best Actor for The Grapes of Wrath in 1941 and nominated as a producer for 12 Angry Men in 1958. But as Fonda entered his 70s, he had yet to win an Oscar. That changed with On Golden Pond, in which he co-starred with fellow screen legend Katharine Hepburn as an aging couple trying to mend family fences. The film earned Fonda and Hepburn Best Actor and Best Actress Oscars, respectively, giving Fonda his first and only Oscar win. He died of heart failure just a few months later in August of 1982 at the age of 77. Hepburn acted only sporadically after On Golden Pond and lived largely in quiet retirement until her death in 2003. After beginning his career on the stage and in radio, Peter Finch built a reputation as a powerful acting presence on the big screen, and by the 1950s he was off and running, earning international acclaim for films like A Town Like Alice, The Nun's Story, and The Trials of Oscar Wilde. Today, though, Finch is best remembered for his role as Howard Beale in the 1976 classic Network. Beale, a devoted newsman who grows fed up with his network's effort to put profit over journalistic integrity, allowed Finch to exercise every ounce of fiery energy he had. His delivery of one particular line cemented his place in countless montages of the greatest movie lines of all time.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Network was one of the most acclaimed films of 1976, and it earned Finch his second Oscar nomination. Sadly, in January of 1977, the day after he'd appeared on The Tonight Show to promote the film, Finch died after suffering a heart attack in the lobby of the Beverly Hills Hotel. He was 60. In the weeks after he died, his performance in Network earned him his first Golden Globe, his fifth BAFTA award, and his first Oscar for Best Actor. At the time of the award, he was the first actor to ever win a posthumous Oscar. In a career spanning 5 decades, Melvyn Douglas did it all, and to prove it, he remains one of only 24 people to ever complete the Triple Crown of acting. He won an Emmy, Tony, and Oscars for his performances across stage and screen. Douglas began appearing in feature films in 1931 and quickly established himself as a suave, quick-witted presence in everything from The Old Dark House to Ninotchka, which remains one of his best-known roles today. He worked regularly in features throughout the 1930s and 1940s, and in the 1950s made the successful leap to prolific television work. In 1964, amid a return to making movies, Douglas won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Homer Bannon in HUD. That success led to prolific work well into his 70s, as he continued to jump from big screen to small and back again. In 1980, Douglas won his second Best Supporting Actor Oscar, this time for his role as Benjamin Rand in Being There. Sadly, Douglas passed away at the age of 80 in August of 1981, just over a year after his second Oscar win. Some actors spend their entire careers sitting in the shadow of the Oscars, almost touching that golden statue but never quite grasping it, despite decades of tantalizing near misses. That was the case for Geraldine Page. An actress who began building a name for herself on the stage in the 1940s, Page gained Academy attention at the very beginning of her film career, earning a Best Supporting Actress nomination for her role opposite John Wayne in Hundo. Another 6 nominations followed with no award, including Best Actress for Summer and Smoke, Sweet Bird of Youth, and Interiors, and Best Supporting Actress for You're a Big Boy Now, Pete and Tilly, and The Pope of Greenwich Village. Then at last came Page's part in The Trip to Bountiful. Page's performance as an aging woman who wants nothing more than to return to her rural home after years away earned her some of the best reviews of her career. She received Golden Globe and BAFTA nominations, and she finally earned the Oscar for Best Actress in 1986. Sadly, her post-Oscar career was short-lived. On June 13, 1987, Page was found dead in her apartment at the age of 62 after an apparent heart attack. For actors of all ages, an Academy Award is supposed to be a gateway to a wider world of acting options. It's a rocket you can ride to whatever opportunities you choose. That should have been the case for Marie Dressler, and even though she didn't die immediately after winning her Oscar, what happened in the aftermath did cut her time tragically short. Like many performers during this period of time, the changing Hollywood landscape proved challenging for Dressler. She spent much of the 1920s without being able to book a single film role. Finally, after struggling financially for years, the late 1920s and the introduction of sound brought about a career renaissance for her. In 1932, Dressler won the Academy Award for Best Actress for Min and Bill, a victory that seemed primed to catapult her to even greater stardom. She launched into more major films, including Emma and Dinner at 8, but by 1932, she'd received a critical cancer diagnosis. Her health slowed her work to a crawl, and she died in July of 1934 at the age of 65. We can trace one of the great filmmaking dynasties in all of Hollywood back to Walter Huston. He spent 2 decades working steadily as a character actor and starting the Huston line of family filmmakers. It's perhaps only fitting, then, that the film for which Huston finally won his Oscar ended up being a family affair. In The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, written and directed by his son, Huston played Howard, an old-time gold prospector who leads 2 younger collaborators in a search for treasure. Walter Huston won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his performance as Howard. His son John won the only 2 Oscars of his long career, for Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay for the film. Sadly, Walter Huston completed just 3 more films before he died in April of 1950 at the age of 67. Few actors in Hollywood's silent era were lucky to survive the paradigm-shifting transition to talkies at all, but a lucky few were able to thrive in both eras. Alice Brady was one of them, against all odds. Born into a theater family, the actress began her career on the stage before starting to build her silent film resume in 1914. She worked steadily for several years before leaving the screen to focus on her stage work. By the time she returned to the movies in 1933, Hollywood had changed dramatically, but Brady's talent was still there. She picked up right where she had left off, launching a career in the sound era that included roles in The Gay Divorcee, Gold Diggers of 1935, and My Man Godfrey, for which she was nominated for an Oscar in 1937. Just a year later, in 1938, Brady received her second Oscar nomination for In Old Chicago, but the afterglow was to be short-lived. Brady was diagnosed with cancer and died in October of 1939 at the age of 46. Even before his big Oscar buzz, Heath Ledger was widely recognized as one of the most promising young actors of his generation. His career launched on Australian television in the 1990s, and he was an instant success when he began appearing in American films like 10 Things I Hate About You and The Patriot. By the mid-2000s, he was a full-fledged movie star, and in 2005 alone, he appeared in Casanova, The Brothers Grimm, Lords of Dogtown, and Brokeback Mountain. He received Golden Globe, BAFTA, and Oscar nominations for his performance in the last film, making him one of the youngest Oscar nominees in history. Then came The Dark Knight. Hot off the success of Batman Begins, director Christopher Nolan cast Ledger as his incarnation of the Joker. While fans' skepticism was initially high, buzz from the set and early looks at the character quickly built excitement for a potentially iconic piece of superhero work. Sadly, Ledger did not live to see the full response to the film. He died in January of 2008 at the age of just 28 after an accidental overdose in his New York City apartment, months before The Dark Knight was set to premiere. When the film finally hit theaters, Ledger received near-universal acclaim for his performance and earned posthumous BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Oscar wins for Best Supporting Actor. That made him only the second actor ever in history to win an Oscar after his death.